Everyone. Today we are going to study the endocrine glands in this video. In the human body, however, there are two types of glands, the exocrine glands and the endocrine glands. The exocrine glands are those glands which have ducts. They secrete with the help of their ducts, and these small tubes take the secretion to the target place. The example are sweat glands, tear glands, salivary glands, etc. So the exocrine glands are present in the body and they secrete their secretions with the help of ducts. However, endocrine glands are ductless glands. They do not have ducts, they lack ducts, and therefore they are surrounded by the blood capillaries. So they are also called as ductless glands. The secretion of these glands is known as hormones. These hormones are poured in the bloodstream, and the bloodstream carries it to different parts of the body. Now, this term hormone was coined by Bayliss and Starling. Now, what are the hormones? These are chemicals. The hormones are chemicals, and these chemicals are synthesized in the endocrine glands by anabolism. Anabolism is a sub-part of catabolism. Anabolism is the constructive process and catabolism is the destructive process. Since this is the part which is synthesizing the hormones, we are saying that hormones are chemicals which are anabolically synthesized inside the endocrine glands, and then these hormones are transported by the bloodstream to the specific organ or tissue. Let us see the general properties of hormones. The very first thing is that they are secreted by endocrine glands. Second, these are chemical substances. Their nature can be proteinaceous. They can be protein, they can be amine, can be steroid or fatty substances. They actually regulate the physiological processes. We have many physiological processes going on in the body, and these physiological processes are governed by the hormones. They act on target cells. They do not act generally on every particular cell, so the influence is not general, but they are very specific and they will only go and target a particular organ or tissue, and therefore they always move to the target cells. Their hyposecretion means less secretion, or hypersecretion means over secretion, may lead to diseases. So there are consequences of hyposecretion and hypersecretion. They are required in minute quantities. They are not required in bulk. Very little amount is sufficient enough for their action. For example, adrenaline is active even in the concentration of 1 part in 3 million parts. So they are very small in quantities, and they do not get stored in the body. Once they are secreted and after their action, they are excreted out of the body. Let us see the functions of endocrine glands in general. We'll take each gland individually, but these are the functions in general. The very first function of all the endocrine glands together is that they are responsible for homeostasis. Homeostasis is the maintenance of a stable internal environment in the body, and the endocrine glands work in coordination with the nervous system. So we say the nervous system has nervous control and the endocrine glands do the chemical control, and together we study both the systems under a heading coordination, chemical coordination as well as nervous coordination. So it is called as control and coordination. Then it also helps in the rate of body growth. They help in sexual development, of the body, and many essential activities, especially during fear or any other emergency situation, are all included under essential activities. It is governed by the endocrine glands, and these glands work on feedback mechanism. Now, what is feedback mechanism? The feedback mechanism is actually done with the help of the pituitary gland, which is known as the master gland. And when the pituitary gland will send the hormones to any gland, for example, I am taking thyroid gland, the stimulation will be done. The pituitary gland will stimulate the thyroid gland by sending a tropic hormone called as TSH, and then the thyroid gland will secrete a hormone called as thyroxine. So the accumulation of thyroxine will give a negative feedback to the thyroid, in turn to pituitary, that no more secretion of TSH is required. So the secretion of thyroxine is influenced by the TSH, and the accumulation of thyroxine gives a negative feedback to the pituitary gland, and this is how the feedback mechanism is governed. This is also called as feedback principle, and the entire endocrine system works under this mechanism. Now this is the human body showing the principal endocrine glands. So we are going to study the location of all the endocrine glands. Starting from the head region, in the brain is the pituitary gland, which is called as the master gland. So the pituitary gland is divided into lobes. Here two lobes have been shown, the anterior and the posterior lobe of pituitary. So both of these lobes secrete different hormones, and this is the place, the hypothalamus, to which the pituitary gland is attached. There is one more gland at the back on the posterior side, which is known as the pineal gland. This is also present in the head region but has not been shown as it is positioned posteriorly to the pituitary gland. So this is present in the head region. When we come to the neck region, it is the thyroid gland which is present. This is the largest gland and it is present just above the trachea. And you can see in this thyroid gland, this H-shaped thyroid gland, there are 4 dots, and these are the parathyroid glands. So the thyroid glands and the parathyroid glands are present in the neck region. Then there is near the heart, that means in the lungs region, there is one gland which is known as the thymus gland, which is not shown over here, and only the lungs have been shown. But in the abdominal region, the 2 kidneys are present. The kidneys are often associated with the word renal. So above the kidneys, there are 2 glands which fit like cap, and these glands are called as adrenal glands. Because of their position above the kidney, the adrenal glands are also known as suprarenal glands. So these are the 2 adrenal glands, so they are in pair. And this is the pancreas. This is also in the abdominal region, and pancreas is a heterocrine gland because it is partly exocrine and partly endocrine. So in this we will only study the endocrine part of the pancreas. Now in an individual it can be only male and female, but this diagram is generalized for both the ovaries and the testis. So testis is present in males and ovaries are present in females, and these are present in pairs. So a pair of ovaries are present in female and it will secrete the hormones estrogen and progesterone, and in testis, the males, the testosterone hormone is produced, and in females there is an additional placenta which is found in the pregnant female, and placenta serves temporarily as the endocrine gland. So all these are the principal endocrine glands and the location in a human body. Let us study the first gland, the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is the largest endocrine gland. It weighs almost 25 grams and it is located just above the trachea. Above the trachea. So the position is actually the neck. It is located above the trachea in the neck region. How is the thyroid gland? The thyroid gland is having two lobes. So it is a bilobed gland. This is one lobe and this is another lobe. So these two are the lobes. There is a transverse connection between the two lobes and this is called as the isthmus. And there are two lobes which are connected by this isthmus. It gives an appearance of H shape, the alphabet H, or it is also known as butterfly shaped. So it is located in the neck region and this is the position. This is the structure, and there are 4 parathyroid glands located above it, but we will discuss it later. We are just going to see the thyroid gland in this video. If we see it in a section, the thyroid gland anatomically has the follicle cells inside. There are follicle cells which are lined by cuboidal epithelium. These are acinous cells. So the follicles are present and these are called as acinal cells, the cuboidal epithelium, and it is one follicle, this is another follicle, and in between the follicles there are parafollicular cells. Parafollicular cells. So what is actually the function of this thyroid gland? It secretes two hormones. One hormone is thyroxine and the other hormone is calcitonin. So it is the acinal cells, the cuboidal epithelium of the follicular cells which secrete the thyroxine, and these parafollicular cells are also known as C cells. So these C cells secrete the calcitonin. It is also known as thyrocalcitonin or simply calcitonin. So basically the thyroid has two hormones to secrete, the thyroxine hormone and the calcitonin hormone. So thyroxine is basically an amine hormone because it is made up of the amino acid tyrosine, and to this tyrosine certain iodine molecules are added. So iodine plus tyrosine makes the thyroxine. There are possibilities of addition of 3 iodine, then the hormone will be called as T3, and if there are 4 iodine molecules attached to tyrosine, it will be called as T4. It is a combination, the thyroxine is a combination of both T3 and T4. T3 is hardly 10%, while rest of the 90% is T4. And thyroxine as a whole has almost 60 to 65% iodine molecules. That means rest 40% is amine, that is the tyrosine amino acid. And the combination of both T3 and T4 makes the thyroxine hormone. So this is secreted, the T3 and T4 thyroxine hormone is secreted only when the thyroid gland is stimulated by TSH. TSH stands for thyroid stimulating hormone. This TSH is secreted by the anterior lobe of pituitary gland. So when this TSH is secreted by the pituitary gland known as the master gland, the thyroid will be stimulated to produce the thyroxine molecules as required. It is not always required. When it is required, it will be secreted in whatever concentration it is needed, and this basically controls the BMR. The thyroxine controls the BMR, which stands for the basal metabolic rate. So a minimum metabolism which is required by the body is governed by the thyroxine molecules. Now this metabolism is controlled by the cellular respiration, where the mitochondria releases ATP. So more the amount of ATP and as good the respiration, cellular respiration is, the BMR is good. And when you are producing more ATP by the mitochondria, the BMR converts into AMR, which is called as active metabolic rate. The active metabolic rate is when you are running, or when you are very active, you are doing anything physically, you are exercising, then the metabolism shoots up to an active rate. Otherwise, when one is sedentary and is at home or is simply sitting, the basal metabolic rate is found in the body. So to have minimum basal metabolic rate, the thyroxine is required. So cellular respiration is very necessary, and this works in coordination with the circulatory system. So circulation and respiration both helps in governing the basal metabolic rate. So this is the first function of thyroxine. Thyroxine also helps in homeothermy, and so the thyroid gland is called as the thermostat of the body. Thermo word is relative to heat, and therefore it maintains the proper body temperature. It regulates the temperature of the body. So if a person is lacking in thyroxine, the normal body temperature becomes usually lower than 37 degrees centigrade. So it is helping in maintaining the homeothermy. Thyroxine also helps in differentiation of cells. What do you mean by differentiation? The specific function performed by the cells when the cells are just formed after the division, mitotic division in zygote, they have to be differentiated and given a specific task. This process of assigning the specific task to be done by the cells is known as differentiation. For this, there was an experiment done on tadpoles. Now tadpole is a larva of frog. So from the tadpole's body, the thyroxine was removed, also the thyroid gland was removed, and it was noticed that the tadpole could not convert into the frog by the process of metamorphosis. So metamorphosis is a process by which the larva converts into the adult frog, but it was unable to do so in lack of the thyroxine hormone, which actually helps in differentiation of cells. But later, when thyroxine was injected artificially, tadpole could convert into the adult frog. So therefore the differentiation of cells is done by the thyroxine hormone, which is produced by the thyroid glands. So these are the hormones these are the functions of the thyroxine hormone produced by the thyroid gland. The next hormone that is secreted by the thyroid gland is calcitonin. Calcitonin, as I told, is secreted by the parafollicular cells, which are also known as the C cells of the body, the C cells of the thyroid gland of the body. So this particular hormone helps in maintaining the calcium level of the blood. So if there is a malfunction in thyroid, the calcium level of the blood in the body is also not properly done. So people who are having some thyroid related disorders usually have a lack of calcium, and their bones usually are not as strong as in the normal body. Now let us study the disorders caused by the hyposecretion of the thyroxine hormone by the thyroid gland. The hypoactivity causes several diseases. The very first is simple goiter. This goiter is the swelling in the neck because of the enlargement of thyroid gland. When the thyroid gland swells, there is a protuberance seen in the neck region. This is due to deficiency of iodine. The deficiency of iodine causes the swelling in thyroid gland. So this shows an protuberance in the neck region, and for this reason the use of iodized salt is recommended, because the iodized salt contains additional amount of iodine. So we see the people who are living away from the seashores, they suffer from this disease more, because the iodine is found in the sea water. So those people who are living in shore are having this iodine naturally in their food chain. But people who are living far away from the seashore usually suffer from this disease, and therefore it is recommended for them always to consume the iodized salt. So iodine is the active ingredient in the production of thyroxine we have just studied, and therefore the lack of iodine, the deficiency of iodine, causes the thyroid gland to swell. When the thyroid gland swells, it is known as hypertrophy of the thyroid gland. So this is due to hyposecretion of the thyroxine hormone, simple goiter. Now the second disease is the cretinism. The cretinism is seen in infants. It is usually seen in children till 5 years of age. So we call them as infants, or they are just small children. They show mental retardation, because we know that thyroxine helps in controlling the BMR, the metabolism. So therefore there is mental as well as physical retardation in the child's growth. The child is having short stature due to underdevelopment, and also the thyroid gland becomes gradually smaller and smaller. So therefore the child may be dwarf in future. The third case is myxedema, which is seen in adults. Now the same condition in which the thyroxine is less, but cretinism is seen in small children, but the same thing is seen in adults. So if thyroxine is secreted less in quantity after the child almost has attained a normal height and stature, so what is left is the sexual development. So such people are usually impotent, and they also show the swelling in face, hands and legs, and they are sluggish, quite lazy, and they are slow in every particular activity, and there is swelling in face, hands and legs. Now let us see the hypersecretion, which is the increased activity of the thyroid gland. This causes exophthalmic goiter. In exophthalmic goiter, the person is observing loss of weight just because the food material is oxidized too rapidly, and also the eyeballs protrude out. So a lot of bulging of the eyeballs is seen in such patients. The person is usually restless because the person is short of sleep, as well as the person also has shortness of breath. So these are the symptoms. The person usually loses weight, the eyeballs is protruding out, restlessness is seen, and the shortness in the breath is seen in a person who is suffering from exophthalmic goiter. So this is the condition due to increased activity of the thyroid gland. So this is all about the thyroid gland. In my coming videos, part 2, part 3, etc., I'll be dealing with rest of the endocrine glands, and in this video we just discussed about the thyroid gland. So if you have any doubts, you may ask me in the comment section, and you can refer to the questions given in the description box. Thank you.